Hi everyone, this is Hannah from Winter Whirlwinds, and I'm so excited to share with you. Today we're going to knit a baby hat. We are doing this in Christmas colors, so red and white. If you're doing this at a time of year that's not Christmas, you're welcome to swap out the colors to make it more spring or summer themed if you want to. And today's video is also going to be a two-part video. So for this video, we're going to just cover the hat, and then I'm going to do a second separate video where we're going to do the embellishments. So we're going to do some white curly cues that are going to come off the corners, and then we're going to do a holly and some berries. So stick with me. Today's hat pattern is absolutely beginner friendly. It's super easy. I'm going to tutorial everything, and then while you're knitting, I'm going to tell you a story that's a really fun Christmas, kind of Christmassy winter story that's a traditional Bulgarian fairy tale. So let's dive right in and get started. Okay, so for today's pattern, what we're actually going to do is I'm going to teach you how to read a pattern. I'm going to teach you all the stitches you're going to need to know. And then while you're knitting your pattern, I'm going to read you the story behind the pattern. It's going to be a lot of fun. Today's pattern is suitable for complete beginners, so we're going to start at the very beginning and it's going to be super easy. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is you need to know how to cast on. So take your yarn here. You're going to make one twist. You're going to catch this part of the tail that's on the bottom part of the twist through the loop, and then you're going to pull the loop tight. That's going to make a slip knot. Then you're going to take your first knitting needle and you're going to pull the slip knot. You're going to slide the slip knot right onto the knitting needle, just like this. Now I'm going to show you how to cast on. We're going to do 5 stitches here. So to start with, you're going to take both needles so that both needles are going through the same loop of yarn. We're going to drop, this is our short tail of yarn here, and then this is our long tail over here that's attached to the ball. You're going to take the longer tail, you're going to wrap it around the needle, you're going to catch this loop on the front, and then you're going to slide this stitch back onto the needle. So you can see we just went from 1 stitch to 2 stitches. And then I'm going to take my tails here. I can just tighten these up so they're snug. You don't want them to be tight, but snug is good just so they don't slide around too much on you. Okay, now let's do it again. Now you can see I'm working off the stitch that's closest to the end of the needle, so I moved forward 1 stitch. You're going to take your long tail of yarn, wrap it around the end, catch the loop, and then slide this back onto the needle. So you can see now I have 3. And now I'm going through the first loop, wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, and slide it onto the end. I have 4, we're going to do 1 more. Wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, and slide it onto the end. So that is called our knit cast on method.
The Little Girl and the Winter Whirlwinds, a Bulgarian fairy tale. One year, the wicked winter witch decided to stop spring from coming on time and making winter the only season on Earth. She hid the sun behind dark clouds and covered the earth with heavy snow. So one morning, the people from a small mountain village woke up and found their houses buried under the snow up to the roofs. They started digging tunnels from their own to the neighboring houses and gathered in small groups to decide what they could do. They finally decided that the best thing to do would be to send someone on the highest mountain peak where the good wizard, Father Frost, lived in his palace of ice and ask him for help. But no one was willing to go on such a dangerous trip.
Okay, now we're going to look at a knit stitch. A knit stitch after we've learned a knit cast on method is super easy because it's almost exactly the same. So you're going to bring both needles through the same loop of yarn here. You're going to wrap your yarn around. You're going to catch that loop on the front, and then this time you're going to slide that stitch off the end of the needle. Let's do it again. Both needles are going through the first stitch on the left-hand needle, wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, slide it off. Both needles through the loop, wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, and slide it off. Wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, slide it off. Wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, slide it off. Now let's switch and we're gonna look at a purl stitch. So you're gonna take your yarn that's in the back right now, you're gonna bring it over to the front. And this time your needle is gonna come through, so it's pointing toward the left. So last time we went through and the tip of our needle was pointing toward the back. Now it's gonna come through and it's gonna point toward your left hand. So we're gonna take this yarn right here, you're gonna wrap it around the tip of the needle. This time you're gonna catch the loop on the back and then you're gonna slide that stitch off. Let's do it again. Bring the needle through, wrap the yarn around, catch that stitch, and then slide it off. Bring the needle through, wrap the yarn around, catch that stitch, then slide it off. Bring the needle through, wrap the yarn around, catch that stitch, slide it off. Bring the needle through, wrap the yarn around, catch that stitch, and slide it off. Okay, now for this row, we're gonna look at how to do knit and purl stitches in the same row. So this pattern calls for 2x2 ribbing, which means we're gonna knit 2, and then we're gonna purl 2, and then we're gonna knit 2. So we're gonna look at how to do knit and purl stitches when they're side by side. So we're gonna start with a knit stitch. We already did this one. Wrap the yarn around, catch the loop, slide it off. Another knit stitch here, wrap the yarn around, catch the loop, slide it off. Now we're gonna take this piece of yarn, we're gonna bring it over to the front. And then we're gonna go for a purl stitch. So your right hand needle is pointing toward your left hand. You're gonna wrap the yarn around, catch the loop, slide it off. We're gonna do another purl stitch. So wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, slide it off. Then we're gonna take our working yarn here, we're gonna bring it back to the back and we're gonna go back to a knit stitch. So we're gonna go knit 1, knit 2, and then we're gonna go back to a purl. Go purl 1, purl 2, and then we're going to finish off with 2 knit stitches. Then we'll go knit 1 and knit 2. So that's how you do knit and purl stitches when they are side by side in the same row. And you can see as we go, this will become more obvious. It will start to look like stripes, but the purl stitches look a little bit different than the knit stitches do. Here you can see it's a little more obvious here once I add a couple more rows. So all this line of V's here, these are all your knit stitches, and then the bumps here in between are the purl stitches. So you know you're gonna knit these 2 stitches and you're gonna purl these 2, and then you're gonna go back and knit these 2, and that's gonna create a 2x2 rib for you.
"I am ready to go," said an old man, "but I'm afraid I'm too old and slow to reach the peak on time. If only I was 20 years younger." "Don't worry, grandfather, I will go," his little granddaughter said. She was an orphan, living in his home since her parents died. "No, not you." The neighbors pitied her. "You are too young and tender for such a hard job. You don't even have a warm coat, no hat and scarf, not even woolen mittens." "I'm not afraid," the little girl said. "My feet are strong, and I'm as fast as a mountain goat. But you'll freeze up there, with no shelter to hide from frost." "I will not," said the girl firmly. "I have a warm little heart, full of love for everyone. It will save me from the frost." "Go, my child," the old man said. "I know your good heart, and I trust it."
This pattern does call for a color change, so I want to show you real quick how to do that color change when you get to the spot where you're ready to change colors. This is on the row where all you're going to do is knit all the way across, so it's really easy. You're going to take, so normally we would take our working yarn here, which we've been doing in white, but instead we're going to switch to red over here. So you're just going to make a loop with this yarn. You're going to wrap the loop around the needle. Instead of the white yarn, you'll wrap the red loop. You're going to catch the stitch and then slide it off. This is going to be a little bit loose. So I like to do 2 or 3 stitches, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to kind of tie it down so that it doesn't run away on me. Don't pull these very tight at the beginning because you'll pull your red yarn through if you pull too tight. So let's do 5 stitches here. This is 4 and this is 5. And then once you've knit a couple stitches, you have some tension here with the wraps around the needle. So then we can set this down, and what I like to do here is I like to take my red end and my white end and I just make a knot and I tie them together. And that way when I come back to this spot, when I knit back the other way, it's not gonna pull out on me, so that'll keep it nice and tight for you. So that is switching colors while you're knitting. Now, after a little while, you're gonna need to measure your work to see how far you've gone and how much you have left. So I wanna show you the way that I measure. I don't measure including the stitch that's on the needle. I measure from the first stitch off the needle. So I'm right at about 3/4 of an inch here. I still have a long ways to go. I'm going for about 5 inches with the pattern I'm doing. But this is how to measure your work when you need to see how much you have left.
The children, who were all her friends, gave her their warmest clothes. "Here, take my coat," one of them said. "My mittens are so warm. Put them on," said another. "Take my hat, my scarf, my woolen socks, and my boots." Soon the little girl was ready to go. She waved back at her friends and started for the snowy mountain peak, a quick pace. She went further and higher, never thinking about rest. Soon she was able to see the glittering ice on top of the highest peak. All of a sudden, the whirlwinds woke up from their sleep, and noticing the little girl in the snow became furious. "Who dares to trespass our property? Let's show her who we are," they screamed. "Let's blow at her so hard until she forgets where she's heading for." And they started whirling fiercely around the girl. But she only huddled into her warm coat and bravely went on. The whirlwinds got very tired, and one after the other fell on the ground, gasping for breath. "What a strong girl," one of them said. "We are exhausted, and she's not even tired. No human being has ever overmastered us, let alone such a fragile little girl. If we cannot manage ourselves, let's call our sisters, the blizzards, for help." So they called for the blizzards. Hearing them, the blizzards became very angry. "She will pay for that," they roared, and threw themselves after her. It was a long, uneven struggle, but the little girl overcame the blizzards too, thanks to her strong, warm heart that never let her feel fear or weariness. The blizzards fell on the ground, breathing heavily. "That's a shame," one of them hissed. "We are not able to stop her. Let's call our mother for help."
Okay, now the last stitch that we want to learn for this pattern is going to be a knit two together stitch. So the way I'm going to do this for this row that I have going, I'm going to knit 3, just regular knit stitches. We've already done this before. So 1, 2, 3. And then after I knit 3 stitches, I'm going to knit 2 together. So I'm going to take the next 2 stitches on the needle. My needle is going to go through both of them, and then I'm going to work a regular knit stitch. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around, I'm going to catch that loop, and then I'm going to slide it off. Let's do it again. I'm going to knit 3 again, knit 1, knit 2, knit 3, and then I'm going to go for a knit 2 together with my last 2 stitches on the needle. So both needles are going through both stitches, wrap that yarn around, catch the loop, and slide it off.
"Mother, mother," they all screamed, "come to help." Their mother was the frosty winter witch. She came at once and said, "I saw everything. Now listen to me. When you cannot defeat someone by force, turn things the other way round. Let's be good to her." "What do you mean, to kiss her?" a whirlwind asked ironically. "Nothing of the sort," the frosty winter said. "Let's just try to be polite and kind, so she will never suspect us of any evil thoughts." So the winds stopped and the blizzards went away. The frosty winter witch appeared before the girl in like a beautiful young woman in a sparkling white gown, with long white hairs and a crown of icy diamonds. "Am I dreaming, or is this some good miracle?" the girl thought. "This beautiful lady has the face of my dear mother, and I can hear her sweet voice singing my lullaby. Oh, how I want to hear some more. I'll sit here for a while," she said to herself. "I'm so near to the palace. No more than an hour walking left. I'll be on time." The little girl sat down and closed her eyes. The frosty winter witch grinned in delight. "Sleep, little girl, and may you sleep forever."
So the first thing I'm going to do here is I need to cut my yarn. Your red yarn, you're going to want at least 12 inches or so. So I'm leaving myself about 12 inches here, and we're going to trim this. The white yarn, you don't need that much. You just need a couple inches. So you can trim this right about here is good. Then what we need to do is we're gonna thread the end of our red yarn through a yarn needle. But to keep going with our work, we need to thread it through from this side. So I'm gonna take all of these and I'm just gonna slip them onto my other needle so that they're facing the opposite direction. So you're just gonna slip all of these stitches. Then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna slip starting with this far stitch first. So we're gonna slip all of these onto our yarn needle and we're gonna pull our yarn through. And then you can pull this tight, nice and tight here. Then from here we need to learn a mattress stitch. So I'm going to start on this far side here. My needle's going to go down through one stitch and then it's going to come back up through the stitch next to it. So I'm going to start with this stitch right here. I'm going to go down through the stitch and then I'm going to come back up through the stitch next to it. Go ahead, pull your yarn through. And then we're gonna switch and we're gonna do that on the opposite side. So now I'm gonna come to this side over here. My needle's gonna come through. I'm gonna start with this stitch right here. I'm gonna go down through this stitch and up through this stitch. Then we're gonna switch. We're gonna go back to this side, down through this stitch, up through this stitch. This is 3. I'm gonna show you 5 stitches. 4 and 5. You're going to keep going. We're going to work a mattress stitch all the way to the end of our decrease stitches. So you can see here's about our point where we did decrease stitches all the way to here. And then this was just straight knitting all the way down.
Then she left the sleeping girl on the snowy hill and flew away to tell her children how she managed to deceive the girl. The little girl was sleeping, smiling happily, but the color of her face was changing as time passed. Her pink cheeks became at first red, then blue, then waxy yellow. She was slowly freezing. All of a sudden, something stirred the snow. A squeaking sound was heard, and a tiny head showed up from a hole in the snow. It was a little white mouse, her shiny black eyes fixed on the sitting figure. "Someone's in trouble," squeaked the mouse. And right after that, a number of little holes opened in the snow, and a number of mice peeped out of the holes.
Okay, now you can see the shape of our hat coming together here. Once you finish your mattress stitch, just leave your yarn off to the side. You can see how you go to the end of the decrease rounds, and then we have this flat edge ready for us right here. Now we're going to learn how to pick up stitches. So to do this, we're going to start at the very edge of our white yarn, and we're going to do this on both sides. And you're going to find the 2 pieces of yarn that are closest to the very edge of your piece, and you're going to slide your knitting needle through them. Then you're going to get a piece of yarn. We did this when we changed colors. You're just going to wrap the piece of yarn, you're going to fold it in half, wrap it around the tip of your needle, and then you're going to pull like you're doing a knit stitch through the end. Then we're going to do this again for the next 2 little lines of yarn next to that one. So hold this really tight so that it doesn't pull out. Take this, wrap it around the edge, and then we have number 2. So we're going to do this all the way down the line. I'm going to show you 5 and then I'll let you do it yourself. So this is 3 And then we're switching to red over here. So go for the 2 strips of yarn that are closest to the edge, wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch. So it's just like you're knitting. This is called picking up stitches. So you can see every time you go for a stitch, you just go for the next hole, and you're looking for the hole out of all these holes. You're looking for the one that's right next to the edge. And 5. Now I'm going to let you do that all the way across.
They ran to the girl and started massaging her hands and feet. But the mice were so little and their labors so inefficient that they decided to call their friends the rabbits for help. This time, bigger holes opened in the snow, and a number of white rabbits peeped out and ran to the rescue. From the snow-covered pine trees, a number of squirrels jumped down, and soon the girl was covered with white and brown fur all over. The little animals warmed her up with their own furry bodies. They were extremely happy to see her cheeks becoming pink again. Soon the girl opened her eyes. She thanked her new friends for saving her life and told them why she was here and where she was going. "We are coming with you," the animals cheered. "We also suffer very much from this never-ending winter."
Okay, so to bind off, we're going to keep working in the knit 2, purl 2 pattern. So the first thing we're going to do is knit 2. And then after we've done 2 knit stitches, we're going to take the right stitch and we're going to slip it over the left stitch. And that's our first bind off stitch. So now we're going to switch. We're going to go to a purl 2, so bring the yarn to the front. And then we're going to take the right stitch, we're going to pass it over the left stitch, then we're going to do another purl stitch, and then you're going to bind off. So you're just going to keep working in this pattern all the way across, alternating your knits and your purls so that you keep your nice ribbing as you're binding off. When you get to where you just have 1 stitch left, you're going to pull this out. So you're going to make a big loop here, and then you're going to take your ball of yarn and you're going to pass it through the loop, and then just pull this end here to make this tight, and then we can trim. So cute. We can trim this end over here. We don't need this one to be particularly long, so just a few inches is fine.
Flocking around the girls, the animals accompanied her to the ice palace. There they all knocked at the gate, but no one answered. What might have happened to Father Frost, the animals wondered. "Let's try to open the door. It's not locked." They opened the heavy gate, and the girl stepped in, followed by her friends. A glittering icy corridor led them to a big crystal hall, and there, on a gorgeous throne of carved ice, Father Christmas was fast asleep, sitting on his icy throne, dressed in silver-embroidered clothes. 2 squirrels jumped in his lap and tickled his face with their furry tails. A mighty sneezing sound made them all freeze with fear, but Father Christmas opened his blue eyes and smiled.
Now picking up stitches is going to give you a seam on the inside. You can see right here, and we want to make sure this is on the inside. So when your hat is facing this way, you're going to pick up your stitches starting from the white and working this way, because that's going to put the seam on the inside. But that means when you flip your hat over and when it's facing this way, so it's upside down right now because this would be the bottom, we're going to have to start over here and we're going to work this way. So just a heads up, you're not going to start on the white on both sides. You're going to start on the white on one side and the red on the other side. I'm doing the red side second, so you can see I've already worked my ribbing here on the other side. So I'm going to try to line up my first stitch so that it's in about the same spot. This is, we did our mattress stitch earlier to make a seam up the edge here, and we're going to do a little bit more with that mattress stitch. So I'm going to basically come down about as far as the mattress stitch came, which is about to the end of my decrease rows here, and that's where I want to catch my first pickup stitch from.
"What are you doing here, little friends?" The girl told him everything. "You mean, I have slept here while the wicked winter witch was trying to stop spring from coming throughout the whole winter?" Father Christmas asked, astonished. "I guess she decided to outsmart me and stay on Earth forever, but I will not let her." Thank you, little ones, for waking me up. Now I'll restore the natural order and give everyone what he deserves." Then he blew on his silver whistle, and in an instant all his subjects appeared in the big crystal hall. He ordered them to go and find the frosty winter witch and bring her to the palace, so he could lock her down in the cellar until next year. He also told them to clear the skies from clouds so that the sun can melt the snow. When the big gates opened again, the sun outside was shining and the soft snow had started to melt. The way back was much easier. The new friends parted, promising to help any time when needed. Everyone in the village cheered, meeting the brave little girl. They were very happy to pick the first snowdrops and give them to her. Spring was also very happy to hear the songs and see the dances the children had prepared specially for her.
Okay, the last thing we're going to do after we finish our edging here is we're just going to come back and finish up our mattress stitch. So pick up the length of yarn where you left off. I left off on the right side, so I'm going to jump over here to the left side. And you're going to finish this all the way down to the end of your edging here. There we go. That's going to create that shape. And then the last thing we have to do is we're just going to take all of our ends and we're going to weave them in. We're going to do this on the inside. And you're going to do all of your white ends on the white and your red ends on the red so that you don't see them. So to weave ends in, we have a rule of 3s. So we're going to catch 3 stitches in 3 different directions. And then from there you can trim your end. And there you have a darling little baby bonnet. If you want to catch our next video, we're going to be adding some curly Q ties to come off the end here, and we're also going to be doing some holly and some holly berries. So this is the absolute beginner version of this hat, but come back and I'll post a link if you want to catch the embellishments. Great job today. If you liked today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.